Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Moses Itanola. I'm a quantity surveyor and a BIM specialist, and I am a Navisworks user and an expert. So today we'll be taking an exploratory session on Autodesk Navisworks. Navisworks is a 5D BIM compliant tool, and when we talk of 5D, we are talking about cost. 4D relates to time, 3D relates to 3 dimension, 2D, and the extension. So we have further extensions as regards 7D, 6D, 8D, and the furtherance of it. But as time goes on, we'll be having detailed explanation of dimensions. So today we'll be talking about Autodesk Navisworks. Navisworks is a 3D design review software that allows architecture, engineering, and construction professionals to holistically review integrated models and data with stakeholders during pre-construction to better control project outcomes. So Navisworks allows users to open and combine 5D, 3D models and then explore them and interpret them in 4D dimension and 5D. So it also allows a real-time and review of the model using a set of tools and comments. We have redlining, we have viewpoint, we have measurements. We'll be talking and be touching majority of this today. So today, there are 3 basic types of Navisworks. We have Navisworks Manage, we have Navisworks Simulate, and we have Navisworks Freedom. Now, Manage is a fluid bone type, and by fluid bone I mean that it includes all the features that Autodesk has integrated into Navisworks. So today we'll be using Navisworks Manage during this session. Simulate is a version of Navisworks also, but with the exception of the tool called class detection. So in Navisworks Simulate, the feature called class detection is not made available, and you can also not do interference checking. But while in Navisworks Freedom, it's just a free version and it's quite free. There's no cost attached. To acquire, manage, and simulate, there's a cost attached, but Navisworks Freedom is a free version, and the function is you can use it to save a file. You cannot save a file, then you can use it to view a file, just to interpret with a file. So probably you want to send a model to your client and you need them to interpret it and you want them to use it. They can have Navisworks Freedom installed. Then there's a timeline playback function, but you cannot create timelines to open only NWD files. So talking about the file types in Navisworks, just as every software tool has a file type that is an extension through which you can save. So we have 3 file types for Navisworks: NWC, NWF, and NWD. NWC is Navisworks cache file, NWF is Navisworks file set, and NWD is Navisworks model. So the NWD is I'll start from NWF. That is the main working file for Navisworks, and it has a live link to an NWC file. So it means if I open a Revit file on my Navisworks, it automatically creates an NWC file. And then I can save an NWF that has a live link to that NWC file. So NWC file is Navisworks cache file, is the interpreter between Navisworks and the third-party app, Revit, SketchUp, and other extensions of softwares. While the NWD is the bound model. By bound, you mean that is a complete model where we can combine all of the drawings, all of the models from every construction professional, from the architect, from the electrical and mechanical people, from the structural together. We save them as an NWD file, and which is a Navisworks model. So touching the basic interface of Navisworks, we have this image showing a description of the major tools in Navisworks. We have the display pane, we have the visibility. We'll be touching all of this, we'll be having a review of all of this in the session today while we continue. So let us now go to the Navisworks and then see how we can improve with that. So I have my Navisworks opened now. This is a Navisworks Manage 2018 version, and I have created some files that will be used for the session today. So like I said, when you open a Revit model, yes, Navisworks can open virtually all modeling softwares. By all modeling softwares, I mean even softwares not produced by Autodesk. And we have a lot of them through others, ArchiCAD and a lot of others. But majorly, Navisworks has an interesting interoperability with Autodesk Revit, because Revit is the major BIM tool by Autodesk. So if you open a Revit file as a quantity surveyor, as a construction manager, you get your Revit models from your architects, from your structural engineers, from your electrical and mechanical engineers. So you would now be required to open through tab, and then I have created a folder called Navisworks here. I have the Revit files here, and I have the Navisworks files here. Now, if you notice that when I opened Revit folder, there was no item shown. And that is because the file type that I have selected to use today is an NWD. So to open a Revit file, I need to choose Revit under the file type. And then we now see the Revit model. So we have the architecture, we have the mechanical, we have the structural, and a lot of other drawings. So if I open one of those, it automatically creates an NWC file. Now, this is when I opened all of those, it created these three: architecture, sample, project, NWC. Now, I also have file sets in this folder, and that is the one I have opened and I have saved myself. So we'll be starting with the architecture full project. So when you open your model, it might take time to load, and that's depending on the capabilities of your laptop system. Now, like I was saying, there are panes in AutoCAD, in Navisworks. We have the project pane, we have the home, we have viewpoint, we have review, we have animation, we have view, we have output, we have BIM 360. Now, some weeks ago, we did some courses on BIM 360 by architect Daniel. Now, BIM 360 is a cloud storage and a cloud collaboration system for BIM compliant tools. For BIM compliant. So there's an integration of BIM 360 with Navisworks. And so whatever work, whatever review you are doing offline can be simulated with the files online. We seem to be having some delays with the project opening, but there's definitely progress. So like I was saying, Navisworks also has a render tool where not as realistic rendering as if you do with third-party apps such as Lumion, but definitely we can have some degree of adequate render done in audio, because we have a lot of people here. So like I was saying, here is the model that we'll be using for the session today, and this is the typical block of office of shopping mall complexes, not the convention, not the new modern version, but at least the traditional version of having offices and shops side by side. So, and we can see that this model is quite interesting. Another major issue to confirm is to have your architect design an information-rich model. And that is why you are required to be involved at the beginning of the design process, and that is those are the benefits that building information modeling offers to allow every stakeholder in the construction project to be involved in the design process. So that will help to ensure that the design models that will be available would be suitable for every other construction professional. In the construction industry today, we have this coordinated efforts where the architect is working in isolation, the structural engineer is working in isolation, the mechanical, there is a discord in the information being shared. And those are one of the reasons why we have reworks on site, why we have clashes between between professionals. So this model, we might not be able to explore all of the functions of Navisworks today, but I definitely expect that the session today will help to spur some interest in you to want to acquire more knowledge. So in Navisworks, we have a full navigation wheel. We have a full navigation wheel, and that is where I'm showing my mouse presently. So that is called the navigation wheel. It helps to interact with the model. We have a lot of functions in it. The first one is the full navigation wheel. And if I click full navigation wheel, this has every of the functions in it, such that I can use anyone I want at any time. Another one is the pan tool. I find this very interesting because it helps you to pan around your model, to move your model around. And then we have the zoom window, where you can select a range of what you want, and then it zooms in to that level. Then we have the orbit. That is one of the very interesting tools that every user needs to acquaint themselves with. It helps with moving the model around. And then we have view, look, which is to look around, to look left, to look right, and all of those functions. Then we also have another interesting tool, which is the walk. It helps to walk, the typical walk, when you walk towards something. So you need to select your mouse and then zoom into the area where you want to, and then it walks. And also we have the select tool, where you can use to select constituents of the model. So that's the navigation. Those are the navigation tools available in Navisworks. Now, at the home, coming back to them, but one of the tabs I want us to check is the viewpoint. Okay, in Navisworks, part of the navigation model also, we have this scroll wheel here. The scroll wheel helps to ensure that we can interact with the model from every dimension. So if I want to move to the right, I click right, it goes to the right. If I want to go to the top, I click top, and it goes to the top. If I want to go to the front, so it helps to interact with that model. So going to the viewpoint, which is one of the tabs in Navisworks. The viewpoint is here. We have a lot of other tools. We have the save, load, and playback. We have the camera, we have the navigate, the render style, sectioning, and exports. Now, viewpoints are like a specific section of the model that has been saved. So if I want, it's just like saying that I want to snap a picture and then I want to come back to it. So if I probably find this version of the model interesting, or I would have to come here oftentimes, and I wouldn't want to looking for how to get here, I can save a viewpoint. So you come to save viewpoint, and then under here we have your save viewpoint. So you can then decide to name it probably front view. That is saved as a viewpoint. If I probably find this place again, somewhere I'll be working with often and frequently, I can save view and say left view. So now let us see the function of the viewpoint. If I go top to the top view and then select the front view, it automatically comes to that section where I saved. If I select the left view, it automatically goes to that section where I saved. And that's the function of the viewpoint. In the extension of the functions of Navisworks, we can actually have viewpoints in multiple places and then create an animation, such as done in other software, other rendering tools too, where you can create an animation. So if I want to create an animation showing somebody coming from the front view, moving towards the building, I need to take viewpoints at every angles, and then these viewpoints will be fused together to form an animation. We have other functions here too. We have the render, the mode. If I want to change the mode of the building, of the model, I can do that. Wireframe, this is wireframe, working with hidden lines, working with a shaded version, and then the full render. Then also, we can also work with lightning, having full lights everywhere. This is when there's full light in all of the model. So also change it to the scene light, where it now changes to the scene light just to reduce the illumination. We have the headlights and we have the no light. So that is simulating a situation where there is probably no electricity supply, but we'll be working with the scene light. We also have the sectioning, which is a form of review tool. It's a review tool in Navisworks that helps to cut through sections. So if I probably want to cut through this wall and see what is in it, I go to enable section, and then it makes available a slicer. So if I go to move, now this is I can term this a slicer. This is something that helps to slice through the model. So you could choose to move or to rotate. Now, if you want to rotate it, you rotate it this way. If you want to move, you move this way. So you move up, you move left or right. You can move forward or backward. So those are tools that help you to interact with the model. So the sectioning tool is basically just for if you want to use it to make some presentations and you don't need some part of the model. You just you need to slice out those sections and then work with the model. Now we have the review tab, which is a very interesting tool for quantity surveyors and construction managers. The first tool here is the measure. So you're probably doing an estimation and then you need to confirm some quantities just quickly from the model. So this is a measuring tool where you select the first point, you select the second point, and then it tells you the distance. So we have other functionalities under that measure. We have point to point, point to multiple points, where you are taking from one point to another and then to another. Then we also have point a continuous line, where you want to take a continuous quantity. That's the function of the measure tool. We have a lot of them. We have angle, area. If you want to do for an area of a place, it helps to calculate the area, which is the meter squared. So we have those functions in measure. Then we also have text. If you are probably going to the model and you want to send an information across to the end user of that model, if you select text and then write change facade, probably you want them to change this to another version. Now it inserts that text there. It inserts the text there, and it can be available to those people you are sending it to. Now we also have a red line. A red line is to create some sort of visible annotations to probably make that information more need to. Now going to the item tool. Now, so if, like I said, that if we use the select tab, if we use the element of the project, of the model, we can select elements of the model and then work with them. Now, if you notice something, when I selected this glass in the model, an item tool showed up. Now, if you go back, it helps to interact with a specific component of the model. If I want to focus on this item, if I press focus, it gives me a focus on that item. If I want to zoom in on the item, I press zoom in and then it zooms in into the item. If I want to hide that item, it does that. You could move that, you could rotate it, you could move it, but of course, it is advisable not to change such intrinsic details of the model in Navisworks. Navisworks is not a modeling tool. It is a design review tool. So you are not required to change major components of the project. It may cause a distortion in the link between this model and the one in Revit. But then, well, I'm just showing you the functionalities of that too. So I'll Control Z on the action and then we'll move on. So we also have, you can also change the color. You can change the color, you can change transparency of the, you can scale it, you can reset and transform it. There are a lot of other tools in it. Now, going back to the home tab, we have append, refresh, file format. I'll be talking about all of this. And then we now, okay, for append, like I explained, that an NWD file is a binded version of various models. So it means that if I have the architectural model, if I have the mechanical and electrical, if I have the structural, I can actually combine them into one in the Navisworks. So that's what we'll be doing now. This is basically the architecture model, showing even the landscape, showing the building, showing all of the functions. But now we want to bring in the mechanical and electrical and then the structural. So I go to append and then select that it should bring in the mechanical, and of course, if you use your control, structural, open. So this function helps to merge together these three so that unified form, because in real essence, a building is actually a unified form of different components. So in a typical building, we have electrical components, we have mechanical components, we have plumbing, we have HVAC, we have, in fact, in present generation, with security and a lot of other functions. So that is exactly what is being done here in Navisworks, to bring all of these components together and then review them using Navisworks. So of course, like I said, importing, appending, and opening depends on the capabilities of your hardware system. So presently now is loading the structural project, and if you see, it is .rvt, which is a Revit file. So it means that it is opening, it is combining both from Revit using the interaction between Navisworks file set, and Navisworks cache file. So there seems to be some delay because it's trying quite hard to import all of the Revit models, but of course there will be progress. So why that goes on, I have explained the function. So in append, we also have merge. Merge is also another function that you can use to bring all of the properties when it merges. So, and that's why it is advisable to use append. Now we also have select and search, which is another function through elements of the model. Like I explained in the beginning, it all depends, because the architect is the foundation of the BIM workflow. So the interaction that the users of Navisworks get is solely dependent on the model that has been sent from the architect. And that's why it is very crucial that there should be a BIM execution plan, which is to now note out the responsibilities of everybody, the tools that we use, the critical namings and characteristics that we use. Of course, in projects, we have standard measurements, we have standards of measurement, we have standards of contracts and all of that. So the BIM execution plan helps to also itemize all of this at the beginning of the project, of the BIM project, so that when that workflow is going on, there will be no distortion between the information being sent from construction project stakeholders. This seems to be taking a lot of time, but definitely is probably completed. So now we now have the imported version of all other elements. Now, of course, if you do note well, you see that there's been a change in the electrical embedded in it. We now have the mechanical embedded in it. We now have the structure embedded in it. Now, how do we know? If we go through the selection tree, you can see that we now have three models listed. We have the architecture, we have the structural, and we have the mechanical. Now, if we want to experiment with this and decide if they have been imported on or not, if we right-click on architecture and then say hide unselected, we have only architecture model showing. If you notice this, there's been the structure and the mechanical has been blurred out. Now, if we stop that and then we say and right-click on structural and say hide unselected, so we only have the structural elements showing now. If we hide on and then we select the mechanical, we only want to see the mechanical components of the building. So these are the mechanical components of the building, and that is now to show to you that those three are being joined together. So that is the function of the append tool in Navisworks. Now we'll be moving forward to this selection. Helps to itemize every component of the model. Every component of the model. That is what the selection tree itemizes. So we have the architecture, the structure, and the mechanical. And of course, we can now deep down into them. So this formatting and levels and layers of formatting is what has been designed by the architect. And now we have 4 levels here by the architect. There's a no level. The no level is expected to contain the site layout, the landscaping, and others. We have the entry level. We have the second floor, the third floor, the roof, and the parapet. So this is exactly as the architect has modeled it. So and that's why I now begin to reinforce the fact that the architect plays a very, very crucial role in the BIM workflow. We have the structural, we have the mechanical. So because of our time, I would be skipping a lot of these other tools of Navisworks. Of course, like I said, it also does rendering, it does animation, it does scripting, and a lot of other utilities. But because this is just an evaluatory session, we'll not be able to explore all of it. Now, we have Clash Detective, which is one of the interesting. What does Clash Detective do? Clash Detective helps you, now that we have combined all of the models, we want to determine if there is a collision between the structural elements and the architectural elements. Now, we all can agree to this, that one of the major delays in construction projects across the globe today is because of the collision of components of professionals. Now, what do I mean? We have the argument from architects and structural engineers, where an architect places a door where there should be a beam, where an electrical person places a pipe and passes it through a beam. So all of these collisions are what causes delays majorly in construction projects. So Navisworks helps to detect these collisions even at design stage. there is less complaint, there's less argument, there's less issues, because everybody is already working perfectly accordingly together. So, and there will be clash detection is located here. It helps to show and hide clash detected. We will not be able to go through a process, but then we'll try to just touch into it. Like I said again, because we'll be able to touch every functionality of it, but I'll try to itemize the very key ones. Now, there's also a function of boards. So if you're not comfortable with having your clash detective pane over there, you can move it. So if I move here, I can move it down here, and then it is set here. So of course, in my normal workflow, I like to move it down. And then it is also advisable that if you are probably working in a multi-screen workflow, that will be interesting, where we can have double screens and then work across board. So starting now, we have the clash detective function opened. Now it's saying that there are currently no clash tests defined test, and the test is just like naming a folder. Now this test, I want to say that it should be a mechanical to architectural, mechanical to architecture. So this means that I want to create a clash to determine the mechanical components if they are not clashing with the architectural components. And now that we have a test, we can see major functions open. So we have 4 tabs here. We have the rules, the select, the result, some guide rules. So items in same layer, items in same group, and the last one are mostly for 2D CAD drawings. The first 2 are mostly for drawings, that for models that want to interact between layers, between groups. But because of this, we'll just be interacting between items in same file. So now we have, when we at the select button, we have selection A and selection B. So this is now where you determine what you want to run a clash detection test for. And like I named it, it's a mechanical. So if we select mechanical here and then select architecture here, so that is to tell us that we want to run a clash detection between the mechanical components of this model and the architectural components of this model. Now we have some other functions here opened. We have line. Line is when you want to, yes, I made a mistake. Line is when you want to use for 2D CAD drawings, when you want to run a clash detection for probably AutoCAD surfaces. And then we also have a settings. We mostly are required to set this as clearance. And then tolerance, we need to set the tolerance level. So I'll be using, there's also a function in Navisworks because it is used in various parts of the world. So you are required to set up in the settings of it your unit of measurement. So because in this part of the world, in Nigeria, where I'm presenting from, we are used to meter, which is a metric form of measurement. So, and that's why I've set my Navisworks to meters. So now that I've set the clearance level and the tolerance, I can now begin to run my test. So what this automatically does is to run a clash detection test on the model to see where components of the mechanical components has made an interference or a collision with the architectural component. Because if these are not discovered early enough, it is going to cause a lot of issues on site. So we now have the results out, and if you can see the model, we have a shaded line and we have green and red. So because I have presently selected clash 1, it is showing me what clash 1 is. The detection test noted that there are 14,253 clashes between these 2 elements. So now let us imagine that this is not done, and then on site we want to resolve 14,253 places where MEP is clashing with architecture. Of course, we can envisage an argument till eternity, but of course, because we now begin to work across, we now begin to manage the situation, we can then shorten the periods. But then these issues can be determined even at the design stage. So we have a lot of clashes here, and of course it depends on the interference level that is set. For my clash 1, we can see my clash 1. If we go to display settings, there are some interesting tools there. If we say that it should show simulation, all of these settings have been set. And also I can begin to tell the Navisworks to make the first item red and second item green, so that I want to see the where both of them made that clash. If we select clash 2, so it goes to clash 2, and then a lot of them, if we select clash 22, now let us work with this. This is clash number 22, showing where, I probably need to reduce my clash intensity so that you can see it. This is clash number 22, showing where there's a collision between these two elements. So one of them, the green one, is the red is a mechanical element, is a mechanical component, and the green is an architectural component. I'm receiving a lot of text saying that they can't hear the audio. I hope I'm still live. Please kindly type into the chat box if you can hear me. Okay, good. Okay, now see the person's device. So this is clash number 22. Now, what this helps us to do is to determine where we have this to do. We can now begin to resolve the clashes one by one and then assign people to it. So you probably notice that, and of course, this is not only the clash you will run. So it means running clash to mechanical, you run architectural to structure, to architecture. So just the interflow between all of them, so that we can now begin to discover where these issues are. Now, clash 22 is noted, and then want to probably resolve it. So if we have notified the mechanical engineer that there's an issue with this can be exported into an image file that can be sent to such persons. And then when they do that, they now begin to, okay, I can see somebody writing on the screen. Is that everywhere? Okay, that has gone. So the clashes are then sent to the individuals that are required to resolve those clashes, and then they can be resolved. So at the status here, you can change it to it's still active, it is reviewed, it has been approved, it has been resolved. If you change it to resolved, it automatically changes to yellow. And then it removes it from the total count of the clash detective noted. Now, to export this, to export the clash text, we can export, okay, this is clash text. We can export this result. Like I said, we can assign. So if you probably want to assign clash 22 to somebody, probably I want to assign it to Daniel, since he's the architect, that he needs to, and then I say to Daniel, and then say, please resolve these issues with the mechanical engineer. So if that is saved, that will now be part of what we exported to the, and then when that is resolved, we can, if we press the compat, it automatically notes it as a resolved issue and removes it. So we can see that clash 22 no longer exists because it has been marked as resolved. That's the report. Now, to now export it, this clash result, to export it, we now go to report function. This is the report function. Now, you tell it the report type. This is the current type. And we have various forms of exporting it. You can export it as viewpoint, like I explained earlier. You can export it as an HTML. And this works with when you probably want to interact with someone that does not use a Navisworks. Is probably using another tool. So if you export to HTML, it saves as a web page with detailed information of the person assigned to, the clash, the place where the clash happened, and all of that. And then when that is resolved, you can now come back to the clash detection tool here and begin to resolve everything. Of course, a lot of these clashes are similar items. So that is why we also need to work with selecting many. So probably from clash 18 to clash 59 is the same item. Probably a clash dealing with the architecture. So we can group this. If we group this, this will then come together as one group and then name it. So we'll probably name it first floor slab. First floor slab issues. So when that is saved, it automatically creates a group of items together under that clash, so that it can now be resolved as a group. Now, now talking about the report. So when you select the format, you then write the report. Also you select all of the content that you want to be in that report. When that is done, you select write report, and you get your report sent to the adequate persons. Like I said, because of the time, we'll not be able to go through all of this into details. I'm supposed to be showing the report and all of that, but then because of the time, in fact, we are way beyond time. So we'll try to rush that. This is clash detection. Now, moving forward to another function of Navisworks, which is the timelining. It's actually an interesting part of it. A lot of us are actually used to project scheduling softwares such as Microsoft Project, Primavera, Synco Pro, Vico, and a lot of others. So Navisworks is also a project scheduling tool, and that's what is called the timelining tool. But then the difference between Navisworks and a lot of others is that you are actually doing a model-based scheduling. So a lot of us will be used to work breakdown structure, where we have the start of the project, the end of this, we have every component, probably the ground floor starts today, ends in 2 months' time, first floor starts next month, and a lot of that. So timelining also does that, but then with a model. So it sort of creates a realistic explanation of the project progress. Now, to do this, when you select the timelining, a tab comes up. We have tags, data sources, configure, simulate, and configure and simulate. So at the tags here is where you begin to add the tags manually. So when you add the tags, you probably name it site clearing, which is probably the first activity to be done on site. So you begin to create a lot of other types, and after site clearing, let's just begin to categorize them by components. We'll say foundation. I'm selecting a huge element of the project, because we'll not be able to go down into each functions, each section of the project. We'll probably, after foundation, we now have first floor, ground floor, then the first floor. This is not an adequate. This is not an adequate word breakdown structure because it is too generic and it is too huge. But then because of our time, we'll just interact with it. So this can also work. So it means if you want to create a schedule, you sit down with your project and begin to select every element, every element of work, the site layout, the site clearing, the foundation, the doors, the windows, the concrete, the columns, the beams, and a lot of all those components. But then we'll do this just for an exploratory interaction. So first floor, we have second floor, ground floor, first floor, second floor. We have the roof. And then the roof. So, and then we now begin to select the planned start and the planned end. So when is this activity starting? When is it ending? When is this activity starting? When is it ending? When is that? So all of this needs to be decided, just like we do in Microsoft Project and Primavera. So if we select, let us set this to start today and then end on the 29th. So this is probably, of course, you know that some items of work need to start after some items of work have ended, while some items of work can actually start while some items of work are still going on. So that interaction in Microsoft Project is what you bring here and then begin to set the start and the end date. So of course, this now deals with the experience of the user with construction projects to determine that at least the adequate time that it will take before this can be started, before this can end, before this can start, before this can end. So that interaction is what we now use to set the model, to set the timeline model that will be used. I'm trying to just pick random dates, but of course, like I explained, it will be determined by the adequate analysis of the appropriate time that such items of work usually take. So I have set all of this now. We also have the actual date. This is a section for the actual date and the actual start date and the actual end date. Now this helps with when the project has been completed and then there's now an actual start date and you want to do a comparison of what was the projected and planned start and then the actual start. So now in this we now begin to attach the model to this timelining schedule. So at this task type, we begin to select what it is. There are actually three. There are three default task type in. There are three default start type in Navisworks: the construct, the demolish, and the temporary. But you can add that through. You can add further ones through configure, where probably we have other items. The construct definitely is to build something. The demolish is to bring down. Temporary is probably items that are not part of the building but are required for that construction process, such as cranes. We have a lot of other formwork and all that. So if those ones are included in the model and then you want to show it in the schedule, those will be under temporary, which means that when the building is completed, they should be removed from that model. But like I said, at the configure tab, these are the three. So you can add another configure if you choose to, but we'll be working with these three because of our time. So we have construct. I'll definitely just set all of them to construct because these items that are listed are expected to be built up. They're expected to go up. If I select demolish, it will start them as a built model and then bring them down, just a simulation of demolish. Now we now begin to attach. Now at this side also is the work breakdown structure, like we are all familiar with. This is the breakdown structure of those items of work as they have been highlighted. Now we have attached. So at this point is where we now begin to attach the components of the models to the schedule. Now, working with the selection tree, we can drill down to all of these components and then begin to select what we want. So we have the architecture mode example here. So I'll be working with this no level now depicts at least the site layout. So I can attach that. If I select this, as long as it highlights blue, it means it has been selected. So I can attach that to the simulation. I right click on attach and then say attach correct selection. So it has attached this as the site, as the activity called site clearing. So this is what will be used for that activity. If I want to do foundation, this entry level doesn't take care of foundation. So I can begin to scroll down into this. Now at foundation, I'll probably be working with the structural framing, the parts, the floors. I may be working with the floors. So let us now do. So there's another method to actually attach is to actually create a set. And that's if you want to select various elements and then attach them to that simulation. So I have selected these three. If I click on save selection, so it automatically brings out a selection set and I can now name them foundation. This selection set will also help us when we are doing quantification because it means that it has highlighted these three items. So if I click out of the box and then select foundation, it automatically highlights those three items because they have been saved as a set. If I now right click here and say attach set foundation, so it attached those three items that I have selected. And then for ground floor, we can then now begin to use we can then now begin to use other items in that, other items apart from the ones that are not required. So for ground floor, we might be using, I think the ground floor is saved in low level. Is it low level? Okay, it's not low level. So it means you need to explore the model and then begin to, this is second floor. So I can attach second floor, attach current selection. This is the third, that's the first floor. This is the second floor. I can attach this. Then the roof. I can attach the roof. Okay, now let us name this the facade. And that's like at least the final finishing. So that is saved somewhere here. This is to tell you that even the architect did a mistake while modeling this, because for his entry level to be selecting all of the external features means that there's been a mistake in the category. So I can attach this here. This tax is not needed. I can delete. So we have this item set out here. Also, you can add the cost. If the cost has already been generated, you can add the cost, which will now be used also in the. So there's also another function of importing all of these tasks from a dedicated project management tool, such as Primavera, such as Microsoft Project, and that will now be done. So if I select add source, it determines which one of these tools do I want to use. So when I now do that, and now they bring them in, the name, the dates, if they have been inserted in Primavera and Project, these dates will be set. And I can now begin to set the tax type and then attach it to this model. So we'll do one of that too, because I have a data source saved. So configure, like I said, is where you can add more tax type. But we basically use these three. Now, if you go to simulate, that is where we now begin to see the actions we actually did. So if I play, it now shows the construction of this building as a video, and which can be exported also, to as a video, as an external video, to be sent somewhere else, to be sent probably to your client. So this helps is in if you want to explain the processes to be passed, the time it will take. If you notice at the top part here, the date is showing. I can do a lot of other settings for this, probably to increase the interval size, the playback duration. If I add more items to that information above, I can do that. I would like to play this again so that you can understand. So this is how it is now. This is a 5D based work breakdown structure where you can now begin to understand the processes that will be required for the construction of that project. Now, this can now be exported. Export animation as it can be exported as an image file. It will export every stage of the work as an image file, or as a video, or as a PNG file, or as a bitmap file. I'll try to do this JPEG and then show again, and then show us what. So if I select OK, it asks for where it wants to. Now this is now what okay, so if I save it here, it exports all of those images to that folder. So, and these images can now be sent to the people that are required. Probably, if they can even be taken to site as a daily progress sheet of. I'll try to share screen to where. So I'm trying to show where the images. So those are the images highlighted out. You can see a lot of them. So you can now begin to select each picture, probably print them, and then take them to site for people to use. So now let us go back to the Navisworks model. So that is the function of the timelining tool in Navisworks. It helps to create a detailed breakdown of the work processes and the required steps for the execution. Now we'll be touching the last major tool in Navisworks, which is the quantification. Like I said, I can see people sending messages that the session might be too difficult to grab because of the knowledge that is being passed across at a very at a very fast rate. And that is to confirm the fact that because of our time, we're not be able to go in depth into all of these functions. But this is just a session that is required to at least spur some sort of interest in ensuring that individuals now begin to go forth and learn in as a self-development. So now touching the last two, which is quantification. This is actually the tool that will be interesting and at least the magic to all of quantity surveyors. The quantification is a tool in Navisworks that helps to do the quantification of a model. When the quantification workbook is open, it is required, there are setups required. Now this is actually if you want to get videos tutorials, and I say remind me later, but of course, when you install your Navisworks, try to go through all of these videos and then learn more. So we have the quantification catalog that is required. Every quantity surveyor knows that measurement and quantification follows a standard, that follows a breakdown structure. So here in Navisworks, we have CSI 16, CSI 48 unit format. You can import your own catalog as you deem fit. My Oga that we created this, yes, in case I didn't mention, there was a software content guide that is available. In case you don't have it, please send an email to info@beamafrica.org and it will be sent to you. So that is, we are expected to be going through that as we are going through this, because the document has been formulated. The document has been compiled and we are expected to follow it. So the BSMM4, which is what is being used in the Nigerian construction industry, like I noted again, every industry in every country has a set of guide that is guiding the estimation process. The BSMM4, which is the Building and Engineering Standard Method of Measurement, which has been compiled by the Nigerian Institute of Quantity Surveyors, is what is being used in the industry. So this catalog is created by Awojobi Toby. We both compiled the software content together. So, and that is to explain that also in your different offices, you may be able to create a catalog of that you wish, that is suitable to your work process. So, but the Navisworks comes with CSI 16, CSI 48, and unit format. But then, like I said, we may be able to use that. So I'll try to use BSM4, and then we'll see that. So when this is done, now we can note that at the quantification workbook here, we have items listed. These items are what has been listed in the BSM4 catalog that we just imported. And this is, every quantity surveyor is supposed to be familiar with it, that we have the substructure, the superstructure, masonry, external works, finishes, roofing, mechanical air conditioning, electrical fittings and fixtures. Of course, it's comprehensive. We can have more. We can have situations where we have the HVAC is required to be measured and a lot of others. So now to do this, there are two ways to do quantification, two major ways. The first one is to drag each item to each quantification workbook. And what do I mean? Each item in the model, probably all doors, you can drag them to doors here, and it automatically does the quantities. You can drag walls, under walls, and it automatically does the meters to the area and everything required. And then there's the other function of a complete takeoff of the whole model. Now, the difference between both is that the first one allows you to do your quantification according to your own structure. Like I said, this quantification workbook is according to the BSMN4. So it means I can begin to drag every item as according to where it's supposed to be under the BSMN4 structure. The other type does not allow for this. It only allows you to do quantification according to the section in which the architect has modeled the building. So example of this is, and of course, like we might have dealt with the selection with these issues, with these tools, defined tools. So if I would select door, this is a door here, and then say select same item. Now, if I say select same item using name, that automatically search through all the models and select any item that is called a door. Now, to do this, I can now set a search set. I can now classify this as a search. And if we expand this selection tree, we can begin to see that it has selected all the doors in the models. And these are 900 by 2.1 millimeters doors. So it has selected all the doors in the model, and we can now take off. So to do this, we first save this selection as a selection, which will be called door. So now when that is done, we now go to the structure, the BSMN4 structure we select it, and then come back to our selection set. We may drag this, or right click on it. So now this selection has been saved as door. So, and this can now be dragged into the door section under BSMN4 structure. So now if you can see, it has done it. So the base function is, it gives us a count. It tells us that there are 69 doors in this building, and then we can now begin to see other measurements in it. It tells us the length, it tells us the width, it tells us the thickness, the height, and a lot of others. And also, it now begins to do a breakdown also. At this point, we see where each of the single door is listed. If I would like to select one door and then determine where it is, if I select this, it automatically just selects that door. This is the door here. So this is now the breakdown of all the doors in this building. So we can begin to now do this for each item in the model. Select doors, select words, and that's a way to hit. Now let me also try that for roof. This is the roof. Now under roofing here, I can right click on this and then go to quantification. And I must have made sure that I have selected roofing in the quantification workbook. Now, if I right click on roof in the selection tree and do quantification, it says take off to roofing. So if I now drill down into this, it gives me the area, the volume, the height, the perimeter, and all of the other quantities that might be required. So all of this is now the style of taking off one by one from the selection tree. Now, to do the other part of it, I'll have to close this. Now, okay, before I close this, now let me explain some other features here. We may be able to we may be able to export this, of course, because this is not the end use of the quantities that have been generated. The basic need of the 5D BIM workflow is to have a complete package of the cost information. Like we all know, a quantity surveyor is not just somebody that deals with quantities. The end goal of a quantity surveyor is to determine the cost. Presently, Autodesk does not have any offering for estimation, but we can now export these quantities to an Excel sheet or other use, and then use them in the other estimating tools. So to export, we come to this tab here, and then we see export quantities to Excel. We can also export that catalog. If we have designed this catalog from scratch, we can also export the catalog to XML. But we now export this to, if we export this to Excel, it chooses where it wants us to save this, and then that can be saved and used. So all of these quantities might not be very, very interesting until we begin to add cost to it. 5D, which is the fifth dimension of BIM, deals majorly with cost and not quantity. And that is why it is required that when we begin to also add the timeline too, when we are doing that time, if we have our cost, we can attach the cost information there, so that when that schedule is being done, the cost information is also showing. Now, I want to try to do the last feature, which is doing a quick takeoff from the model. Now, a quantity surveyor knows that if you would like to design to do the cost estimate for a building such as this, it will definitely take probably a lot of time. You need to take your pencil, you need to take your rulers, you need to start itemizing every item. But Navisworks helps to do this quantification in just few seconds. So we might not be able to do that with this, but I'm opening the model again, so that we can have the chance of doing this. So this building is the previous building we imported. This is the architectural model. This is of course you can notice the MEP and the structurals are not part of this. If we close all of this and then merge all of this, so that we'll be able to see the model well. This is architectural model. Yes, please kindly send your questions into the chat box, so that at the end we'll be able to treat them. I can see questions trickling in, but to concentrate, when we finish the session, we'll address all questions. Now, this is the model. This is architectural model, and then we want to do quantification. So by the time we select our quantification, I'll go to project setup. So to do that, the quantity, the automatic quantities, automatic quantity takeoff, you would not use any catalog, because like I listed, it does not follow a format. It has to quantify that model according to the breakdown structure that the architect has given it. So to do this, we'll say none. Next. Now it now asks also what is the units of measurement that we want to use. Again, like I said, in this part of the climb, we are used to metric, which is the metric units of measurement. So although in other places you might be using imperial, you select that, and others. So metric and then next. It now begins to ask what the units that want to assign to the model element, like the model length, it has to be meters. The width meters, the thickness meters, height meters, area definitely in square meters, the volume in cubic meters, the weight in kilogram. So all of these are then set, and we can now start. So like I said, to now do the quantity takeoff, all you just need to do is right click on the model and then go to quantification. So this might be seem like magic to all of quantity surveyors, but this is to explain to you that the best thing is to actually learn all of these tools and then use them. Because traditionally, to take off for a building such as this might take this, but Navisworks offers a quantification in less than 10 seconds. So we are trying to take off for the whole model now. And then we have our takeoff. So now let us now dig into it and begin to see all of the takeoff that has been done. Now, if you close this, this is the architecture model. And it now begins to do, like I explained, it does the takeoff according to the structure that has been used by the architect. Let us go into the roof and then begin to see the items that are there. Now, this is the concrete deck, which is at the roof. If you begin to slide to the back, we can see the area of the roof, the volume, if it is required. If you are required to use volume, of course, majorly we might be using area, but probably if it is a concrete element and then you are required to use the volume, that is there. For walls, this is all of the walls in the model. So it is telling me that the walls are, this is the area of the walls, this is the volume, this is the height, and a lot of this is the width, this is the length. Those are the walls in the roof. Now let us go to each floor. At the third floor, we have a lot of items. The ceiling. Now this is the ceiling. The ceiling, 600 by 600, probably your PVC or POP ceiling. It also itemizes all of this. So it tells me that at the last floor, all of the ceiling is, the area is 994.712 meters squared. The volume is this, the perimeter, all of these quantities that are required by the quantity surveyor. If we begin to drill also into other items, the doors, like we had done before, but this is now a quantification according to the structure by the architect. So it also gives the total number of the doors, the area, the volume, the count, and every other details that are required. So, of course, this is expected to ignite some sort of interest in everyone to ensure that we position ourselves in such places where we begin to use these tools and then achieve efficient construction workflow. Now, like I noted at the some few minutes ago, if a quantity surveyor were to sit down and begin to quantify all of these items, it will take a lot of time. It is prone to error. And of course, there will be a lot of issues because some items will be left out. But tools such as Navisworks helps to achieve this efficient workflow. I expect that, like I said, we might not be able to cover all of these functions into details, but this is just an exploratory overview of the tool called Navisworks, Autodesk Navisworks. It is a BIM compliant tool for quantity surveyors, for construction managers, for project managers, and a lot of others. Thank you very much. We can now begin to have the questions now. So if you do have a question, just unmute your mic and then ask your question.
Hello, good evening.
Yes, good evening.
Okay, I'm Christopher Ibebulem. My question particularly is regarding the structure of the model. Talking from the architect's architect's perspective. The structure of the model, how does Navisworks really handle structuring of the model? Is it in terms of levels, dealing with levels in Revit or levels in IFC, or does it deal with groups? Because I understand Revit uses groups also in terms of structuring models. I really want to understand that.
Okay, like I noted that the structure that is used in Navisworks is as determined by the authoring modeling tools. And I might intentionally not mention Revit because we have a lot of other modeling tools such as SketchUp and a lot of others, ArchiCAD. So
Exactly.
Navisworks actually works with all of them. But definitely, if you then export to IFC before you import to Navisworks, it means the structure is as in IFC. But if it is a direct import from the Navisworks, from the Revit file or the ArchiCAD file into Navisworks, it follows the structure that has been set, the levels that has been set in Revit.
Okay. Another question is with regards to categorizing elements. We all know, in fact, I've met a lot of people that do what they call bad beam. That is modeling elements in categories that are not what they are supposed to be. So is there a way to kind of reassign categories on the, that is in Navisworks, or it has to still, we all have to still go back to Revit to reassign categories and then re-import again into Navisworks?
So like I said during the presentation, at the beginning of every BIM project, there needs to be a document called the BIM execution plan. Now, this document highlights all of the requirements, even before any design, even before a model. In fact, the mouse is picked for Revit. A BIM execution plan needs to be done. And what does this BIM execution plan? It helps to itemize all the intrinsic details of that design process, the structure that will be used, the standard of contract that will be followed, the namings of IFI, the tools that will be used. Probably Revit. In a BIM execution plan, you might name that this project will only be using Revit. We will only be using ArchiCAD. So all of these informations and decisions must have been made in the BIM, and that will now help to also influence that naming, the structure that you're talking of. Navisworks is not a modeling file. Definitely, you can alter all of these things. You can alter names. You can alter, model elements. But it creates a disconnect between that file and the authoring file, which is the Revit file. So that is why users of Navisworks are advised not to actually deal with the functions, the details of such models. It is only meant to be a model review tool.
Okay. Another question, sorry, this is the last one, is as regards to BIM 360, Navisworks as regards to BIM 360. And I want to paint a scenario in the sense that the architects and the supporting consultants like MEP structures are all using BIM 360 for model coordination, that's BIM 360 design. And then the quantity surveyor or the contractor is meant to use Navisworks for clash detection and then quantification. Is there a way, does BIM 360 sort of support Navisworks file format so that one can easily read, just only read clash reports and then flag out issues right there on BIM 360 while those using the different authoring tools get the notification?
Okay.
Like where you have a clash report and then you assign it to Daniel, can that be done online through Navis? Like what you've done here could now be exported to 360, where the required participant is meant to now get the notification and then effect the changes that's meant to be done for that particular clash.
Okay. Yes. Now I'm trying to share Navisworks screen to show you where that function is available. So now in Navisworks, we now have a tool called BIM 360, which is embedded into these functions in Navisworks. Now this is what now helps to ensure that they are also synced with other project stakeholders in the BIM 360. So any changes that is done in the model online, the BIM 360 also allows interaction with every project.
Yes.
Any changes that is done, as long as when you click refresh, it automatically refreshes that here. And any changes you see here, which may be such annotations like noted, which may be comments, which may be assigning to people, anything you do offline is also synced to any other.
Okay.
Okay, please, I just want to add a little bit concerning the BIM 360. Hello, can you hear me?
Okay.
Yeah,
I can.
The 360 glue also functions like Navisworks. It's just like the web version of Navisworks. So most of these reviews and plan detection and all these things within Navisworks, also an integral part of the 360 glue. So if you have different formats, they have the plan, design, and also glue is more or less Navisworks on the web. On the web browser. So most of these things is also done on the 360 glue. I just thought about that.
Okay. Sorry, one last. I'm sorry, this one just popped up. One last question. A lot of times people argue when to start using particular software. For example, when does Navisworks extend or this stage also with design, so that class detection is being carried out right on from the earliest stage of design. I'm requesting your own opinion actually now.
Okay, please can you repeat?
Is it me or no?
Okay. Okay. Sorry. My question is, we all know, we all have these tendencies to bring in softwares even when they are not particularly needed at the very moment. Take for instance, I'm asking now is my question is, when does not just being set up, people are just starting, their modeling, or does it come in when?
Can you type that question? Network seems to be okay. So I also have another question from how can we design the catalog?
Can you hear me?
And that is what. Yes, I can. Hello.
Did you get my question? Sorry.
I'm saying, could you please type it into the chat?
Okay.
So I'm trying to address the question by Mr. Jonathan.
Okay.
From scratch. So I'm trying to do that now, and that is when when you are setting up your quantification work, you set none, and then begin to add these items. So you can also rename these items when you're adding them, and then export. So this can now be exported to be saved somewhere as your own catalog to be used. So the only thing is just to begin to create these items, add components and all that, and then export them. So can we have the next question, please? So there's also a question in the chat box by Cynthia that when quantifying using the architectural design, does it account for the structural component? No, as long as you are quantifying the architectural component, it does not take the structural. But what you only need to do is to select the structural also, and that is when, if you have bonded or merged or appended the model, you can then select everything as a component and then do the takeoff. So when you select quantification and quantify that alone, it would not be in the quantification workbook. But when you now select that of structural source and do the quantification, okay, so there's another question also from Anna, and it's asking, can it measure each item on the building element, each roof member, not just the roof company? Not just roof. Definitely, if every element that is modeled into the building by the architect, every of these items will be quantified when the quantification is done. Especially if it is the auto takeoff that you do. So there's a question from YQSF that what is the difference between Navisworks Simulate and Manage? I listed that at the beginning of the session. I'll try to do that again. The Simulate is also a form of Navisworks, but does not have clash detection included in it. But the Manage is a total solution where we have class detection, we have timelining, we have quantification, and a lot of other features. But in the Navisworks Simulate, there is no class detection function, and you cannot do interference checking. So there's also a question from Christopher that at what stage of the project do you bring in Navisworks? Definitely, it has to be at the, of course, maybe probably after the modeling. That is when the Navisworks can. Thank you. So, like I was explaining, the Navisworks is used also in the design process. So that is after the architects must have done their model, and then we now the MEP must have done theirs, and then we now need to do that. Okay, so Mr. Jim, can you please ask your question? Just unmute and ask your question.
Sorry, Moses, can I quickly add something to what you just answered? Hello? Hello, Moses?
There seems to be a lot of background noise.
I don't even know where this noise is coming from. Who is this person? I think it's from Jim or sorry. Moses, I want to quickly add something to what you just answered. But then I want to just the small picture I want to share with us to clarify a bit. Mr. Jimo, please.
You can mute from your end.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. It's the one I'm meeting over. I want to quickly share a small image with Mr. Christopher, just to add a small light on what you answered. So this is, as I was saying the other time, the 360 glue, like I said, is a bit similar to Navisworks. So if you look at this 360 family on your screen, you see just like a bit of a timeline of when all these various solutions come into play, from conceptual design all the way to commissioning and handover. So if you are assuming that the 360 glue now is the equal place of Navisworks, you see that it starts somewhere towards the end of detailed design, all the way to the end of the construction process. So the moment you're making your designs and you start getting detailed towards the ending of the design process, you need Navisworks for all those part detection and the other timelining and all those processes. So in my own opinion, it comes in the design, detailed design stage all the way to the end of the construction. That's just my
okay. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Yeah. So I think you have taken many questions. I think we have about 2 or more questions so that we can round up.
You've overridden my question. So there's also a question from
Let me stop.
From YQSF that we should explain the aspect of model component of auto measurement. Does it work for MEP and structural drawing? Yes, that is why I was saying that the mechanical and electrical model and structural model must also have been imported into I only did for the architectural because that was what was close by to use. It's also the same thing. You only need to set the formula required for that of the structural to ensure that it notes those items as weight. And that's why when we're setting up the catalog, we have that weight, the model weight, it should be in kilogram. So, and then the volume should be in meter cube. So you need to set all of that, and then it will work with MEP and structural drawing models. Then someone is asking that when I was creating the catalog before exporting, I did not put formula. Yes, that was because I was in a rush. You need to set the formula for each element of the catalog, and that is why it is required that every office, every firm need to sit down and first set up their catalog. That's when they now begin to set the requirement, the formula required for every item. So probably for trench excavation, you now begin to say that you should note that as the length by the depth. For concrete, it needs to set by volume. For reinforcement, it needs to set by kilogram. So all of those needs to be set. So it is now when you are setting those up that you select the components of the model that should be used for that equation. A question from Opolua that says Navisworks can only work on models, right? Or it can work on, there's a function in Navisworks that helps to also work with 2D CAD drawings, AutoCAD drawings. But definitely that workflow might not seem interesting as if it were to be a model. So it can work, of course, like that, the measure and the review of tab tools can be used for 2D CAD drawings, but more of building information modeling. So that is why models are the preferred choice. Do we have other questions?
I think Mr. Jimo is raising his hand. If your background noise is off, you can ask a question. I think that will be the last question. Mr. Jimo.
Okay. Hello. It's just muting. There's a question from Azan that can you use Navisworks manage for cost control or management? So like I said, the functions there are basically for quantification. The function of quantification is for determining the quantity. So, and that's why we now add to export to Excel or other suitable means to be used for other estimation tools. So basically at this stage, cost control or cost management is not included because there is no ability to insert rate or rate multiplied by the quantities to determine the amount, like they do in the traditional QS practice. So these are to export the quantity and then begin to use them for the cost control activity. Do you have any other questions?
I think it will around it.
So thank you very much. I hope that the session, if you have further questions or further requests, you can get in touch with Moses at beamafrica.org. Thank you very much. I hope that this session would create some sort of interest in you to want to acquire and upskill yourself on use of Autodesk. This is part of the Beam Africa Student Advocacy Program, and we have been touching various Autodesk. Last week we did a session on Revit architecture. We've also done some on BIM 360. Next week will be on Revit structure. So join us and thank you. I appreciate you for coming. You have a nice day.